Video, I'm going to be doing a ranking of albums by death metal band Obituary. I will be including the new one called Dying of Everything. I have 11 albums in total. I will not be including any live albums, EPs, or anything like that. So with that being said, let me just get started. At number 11, I have Xecutioner's Return from 2007, the 7th studio album released on August 28, 2007 through Candlelight Records. The album title comes from the original band name, which is Xecutioner, but they had to change the spelling because there was another band called Xecutioner, and then they spelled it with an X. But this one's not too bad. It's a little closer to sound than their earlier work, like hence the name of their original band. You can definitely hear a little more speed in the song, some rawness in the production. The sound is maybe similar to their debut, Slowly We Rot. There's some slower rhythms, like for example, the song Bloodshot has a little more of a groove to it. Has some distortion and dissonance. It's good. I think the problem is lack of memorability. Some of the songs have a tendency to sound the same. I'm not saying it's bad, that's just my observation, and something has to come in the bottom. Number 10 is Darkest Day, the 8th studio album released on June 30th, 2009 through Candlelight Records. And on this album, it's their last album with Frank Watkins, and he's been with the band since Cause of Death. This one's not bad. They seem to be doing some different stuff. For example, both the songs Blood to Give and the title track, they have like really cool drum intros. The song Lost Inside, that starts with a guitar solo, which is something not very common for this band. There's some pretty good stuff on it. I like the song Payback. It has some nice grooves. It's more of like a groove metal type of album, and the songs are more mid-paced to slow. You don't really hear a lot of speed on the songs, but it's okay. Just one of those albums, not very memorable, but that's why I have it ranked right here. At number 9, I have Back from the Dead. This is their 5th album, released on April 22nd, 1997 through Roadrunner Records, produced by Jamie Locke and the band Obituary. This was their last album before they took a 6-year break. I mentioned this album in one of my videos for my underrated album series. I think it's good if you don't count the bonus track, which is like a song that mixes rap music with death metal. I didn't like that one, but the other songs are not that bad. I think this is more of a return to that Slowly We Rot type of sound. You hear some more speed, more accelerated rhythms, more of those buzzsaw guitars. You also have mid-paced songs and chugging distorted guitars that are still present on this album. The best song is probably Download. This one has those similar stop-start riffs and thick and heavy sounds similar to like the Cause of Death. This one's not too bad. At number 8 is Inked in Blood, their 9th studio album, released on October 28th, 2014 through Gibtown and Relapse Records. This is an album I've heard mixed reviews for, but I thought it was pretty good. The sound is old school death metal, but I think the sound might be a little more accessible. You hear lots of guitar riffs, and not as complex as they are in the other albums. Some of the songs are slower paced. There's a lot of distortion and dissonance. A couple songs I like. I like Visions in My Head. That one has some cool stuff on it. I like the stop-start riffing on it, and it sounds almost like a Ministry song as well. And that one has like a little bit of like industrial influence. I think the song that stands out is called Violence. It's fast-paced, it's energetic, it's aggressive. It's a short 2-minute song, and it just comes and goes. It does what it needs to do. Overall, the songs are slower, maybe a little simplified, but I like the catchiness of the album. And number 7 is Frozen in Time, their 6th album, released on July 12, 2005 through Roadrunner Records. Again, produced by Scott Burns, and the last album with Alan West on guitars. It's a very good comeback album. This one opens with a song called Redneck Stomp. That's one of the more popular songs on streaming, and that's an instrumental song. That's pretty cool. The album brings back a classic death metal style. They have a little bit of speed in the rhythm, some classic sounding death metal style guitar riffs. There's some songs where they slow it down. So, for example, the song Mindset, probably more of a death doom type of song. The rest of the album is very good. It's what you would expect from an old school death metal band. They don't really give you anything more, anything less. The production is very good, and it's a pretty good comeback. At number 6 is World Demise, the 4th album released on September 6, 1994 through Roadrunner Records, produced by Scott Burns. So this album, we start to hear the band changing their sound a little bit. You can definitely hear like the 90s having an influence on this album. And with that being said, I think it's like their biggest change as far as like albums go. Like sometimes they're a little slower. There's more of like a groove element. Keep in mind Pantera was the biggest metal band at the time, and I know Machine Head was coming out at that same time, so that could have had an influence. The band used a little bit of sampling, and that was done by many bands like Biohazard and Ministry. And actually, speaking of Biohazard, I think this album reminds me a lot of that band. I enjoy this album. Lots of dissonance, lots of distortion, and that makes up for the lack of speed on the songs. And number 5 is the self-titled album released on March 17th, 2017 through Gibtown and Relapse Records. This one's very good. It's a short album, about 33 minutes long, but it's solid all the way through. On this album, you get a little bit of everything. The opening track, Brave, and the song Ended Now, they're just very accelerated and aggressive. The songs are just aggressive old school death metal. The 2 tracks after that have more of a groove sound, but they still have that death metal energy. Most of the songs are fast-paced old school death metal and more of their groove. They still have that death metal sound, but they don't really have like a lot of like slow songs, the exception being like the song Turn to Stone. The most popular song is called 10,000 Ways to Die. It's an old school groove metal type of song. They had a music video for this one. It's very popular, pretty cool, like animated music video. Overall, a very good album and a good comeback. And number 4, Dying of Everything, released on January 13, 2023 through Relapse Records. This is the new album. Really great comeback album, one of their best in a long time. The type of album that just has a little bit of everything. You have lots of extremes on this album. You have the opener, Barely Alive, which is very fast and furious. And then in contrast, the closing track, Be Warned, more of a slow and dissonant, almost funeral doom type of song. And the rest of the songs are just very good. I really enjoyed the single, The Wrong Time. It's another one of those groove-oriented songs that's just very catchy. It had a very memorable guitar riff, and everything is good. Just the album is solid. I don't need to go into too much detail, because I do have a full review of it. But that's why I have it ranked fairly high. And number 3 is Slowly We Rot, their debut album, and released on June 14, 1989 through Roadrunner Records, produced by Scott Burns, their debut album. It's recorded in standard tuning. They use Fender Stratocasters, but with that being said, considered one of the best old school death metal debuts like ever. It just sounds very raw, but it works for this album. I mean, the guitars sound like buzzsaws. Obituary is not a band that always plays high speed, but I think a lot of the songs move a lot faster than on so many other albums. A lot of songs are slow buildings, a lot of like fuzzy distortion that kind of builds up. And John Tardy's vocals are just very raw and like zombie-like. It's an album for fans of straightforward, old school, no-nonsense death metal. And that's why I have it ranked right here. At number 2 is The End Complete, the 3rd album released on April 21st, 1992 through Roadrunner Records. This is the album that guitarist Alan West came back after leaving the band during the Cause of Death album. This album is another classic. It has that dirty and grimy guitar tone. They slowed it down a little bit more on this album. Some of the songs are notably slower. For example, the album opener, I'm in Pain. But the album still has lots of grooves, chunky guitar riffs, and those signature vocals by John Tardy. On this album, most of the songs seem to have like similar beats per minute, and neither too fast nor too slow. Something this band is known for. I think it's considered a great album. It's just very consistent, and that's why I have it ranked very high. And number 1 is Cause of Death, their 2nd album released on September 19, 1990, and this is a classic. This one has the album cover. I really like that one. It was created by Michael Whelan. And this is the only album with James Murphy on guitar. So he was from the death metal band Death. And you definitely hear that influence on this album. Like you can hear some elements of that album from Death, like Leprosy and those classic albums. It's really great. It has a Celtic Frost cover called Circle of Tyrants. But the song that stands out is Chopped in Half. Just has these guitars, and they sound like buzzsaws. And I've been saying that throughout this video, but that's what they sound like. You got the stop-start guitar riffs. Very memorable on this album. Lots of great riffs, lots of grooves. In general, the songs are not very fast-paced. Maybe a little slower than the debut, Slowly Weed Rot, but it has lots of those galloping rhythms and palm-muted, like, guitar riffs, similar to thrash metal. Overall, just a great album. So that's all. Let me know in the ranking. What is your ranking? Let me know in the comments what you think, and what if you think of mine. I think this band has a pretty consistent discography. I don't really think they have really bad albums. I mean, most of them were like pretty close. Maybe my top three were like a lot better than the others. But otherwise, everyone's rank is different. I got some more videos coming up. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.